purity, purity and love. That's what we need in these times. Three things. We need three ingredients. We need purity, will, and love. Purity and will make love divine. We've been cascaded by falsehood for so long that we don't know what is what. So purity is our best.
Oh, that's
our best resolution.
That's the only thing left. Ain't nothing else left but that.
Hey, y'all don't know. Just return to purity. If you can't figure it out, just return to purity. And this is it. Because we do got to get some things cleared away so we can have a clear understanding to know thyself. When it comes to, as the general word would say, the God. The right, more perfect word is the deity. Now, this is what they took away, the word deity, and replaced it heavily with the word God. From ancient of times, before the sun and the moon, everything has always been one. And we should know that just by watching the sun, the simple sun.
That's right.
If it was multiple creators,
Good.
you see down on earth, it's multiple bodies and you can't agree.
Yeah.
But the sun stay in one harmony, one agreement throughout the ancient times all the way to now.
No fighting between the sun and the moon.
No fighting. No fighting. No fighting. Woo, that's some beauty right there. That's purity.
Yes, indeed.
And will in action.
So, may I just ask a quick question here? Because you said before the word God came along, you said it was the word deity.
That is right.
So, if that be the case, don't you know that if you leave the original and start with the God, because see, now you can start a God game. I hate to put it this way, but you finna start something here. When you start changing from the original, you finna start trouble.
Yeah.
I give the floor.
Yeah, great. You finna cause a confusion. And if that's their intent, they're gonna do that intent. And that intent was to confuse the masses. So we're gonna show how the masses are confused with the one deity. Just by the word God being substituted. See, the word divine, as we hear the word divine, notice it begins with the letter D. And the word deity begins with the letter D.
Oh, ain't that beautiful?
The word divine gets its root word from the word deity. So deity is where everything becomes divine.
Beautiful.
So if we, as a population, is worshiping the wrong deity,
that's right,
then we are not, let's say we not suffice to have the eternal truth.
That's correct.
If your saving power is his name,
yes, indeed,
then his name must be linked to the one deity. So when we go visit the three major religions of today, they exist by name of Christianity and Islam. And all three of these religions have three books associated with their religion. The three books associated with their religion for Christianity is the New Testament. For Judaism, it's the Old Testament. So that's compiled in one book called the Biblios. Originally, it was called the Bibliography by Constantine. It's where you get the word Biblios.
Okay.
Now, Constantine was a British emperor. So we have to understand the correlation why British comes into line today, wearing the same titles of king and queen of ancient times.
That makes sense.
Now, Constantine was the first one to name the religion Christianity, not any other person. Jesus was not the first to name Christianity. Christianity was named first by Constantine. So now when we understand, this is why you have the word Antioch in the New Testament. If you find that in your Acts, you will find this is the first place where the word Christian is mentioned.
That's right.
And this is after Jesus' death. So you won't find Jesus saying he was a Christian. But somehow Christianity came after his death. Now, the people that came before Christianity was called Jews. Jews predate Christians. So Jews had their hands in text before Christian or the Roman Empire got their hands on text.
Okay, that makes sense.
So the Jews was messing with the Old Testament. So now the Old Testament precedes the New Testament. So now when we're talking about the Jews have their hand in messing with the Old Testament, this is where we start naming things before Christianity. You get like, let's just say Moses. Moses represents the Old Testament. Moses also represents the birth of a new nation. And this new nation is known as the Israelites. The Israelites is what is predominant in the Old Testament. When they speak about Israelites, they speak about the God of Israel. The whole Old Testament is about the God of Israel. That's Jewish. Jewish and Christianity became one, called Judeo-Christianity. This is where you have Old Testament and New Testament in one book. This one book comprises of two religions in one, bringing about a new way of living a life. Now, this is how the name deity and the divine creator name have been subjected to change. Remember, if the people who changed the original text created their own book, and we have the footprint to acknowledge that truth,
That's right.
we can see the name clearly of the divine creator is not in the Old Testament, and in the New Testament, wet and dry. You gotta break it down phonetically and take it back to ancient roots. But Old Testament opens up with Elohim as the God in the beginning. The New Testament opened up with John bearing witness to God coming into the Word and the Word being made flesh. Now, this is a redemptive process that we should understand. What makes Christianity prominent is because it has a redemptive process for the Jewish process of the Genesis, where Genesis begins with the original sin. In Christianity and in Judaism, original sin exists. So for redemption of the sin that was cast out from Adam and Eve and cast out of the garden, this became original sin from a Christian or Jewish perspective. With this in mind, we have to understand this is not our predominant creation. We existed before a Bible existed. We existed before an Old Testament existed. We existed before a New Testament existed. These are new ways designed by pagans. And pagans have their culture, and they have brought their culture with the invasion onto the soil of the North America and all of the Americanos. This was by way of changing the deity to God. All of this is done in the name of God, in the name of these books. Now that we have a little short synopsis of the original Bible and the Old Testament and the New Testament and Judeo-Christianity having one book, this should make everything clear of who's in bed with each other.
Yeah.
So when you're watching TV and media, you keep this in mind. These are people that's going to be proliferating a narrative of fear to spread terror in your mind to keep domination on the planet. And they do this by way of names. So we have to understand when it comes to Rome, their God, we should know is Jesus. This is the name of their God. When you read the New Testament, the name of their God is Jesus Christ. This belongs to Romans. Jews, they don't believe in the Messiah has came. So the story of the same Jesus Christ is not the same for the original, the Jews. They believe in Moses. They follow the books of Moses.
Wait a minute.
So the books of Moses, this is where you're getting all the mixed breed in. So they rewriting the whole synopsis. This is why it took 2,000 years to get that King James Version the way it is. This took a long time.
It did.
They had to do a lot to deceive us, but keep things in there that will keep things pure, but at the same time, they will be right in themselves in our family tree.
Yeah. And you can see it plain as day.
So now, this is where we have to understand the New Testament God is Jesus Christ. The Old Testament God is Elohim. So these two names have been changed. That's why they call Elohim and Jesus Christ. That represents, if you pray in the name of Jesus Christ, you belong to the Rome. If you pray in the name of Elohim, which goes back to Yahweh, you belong to the Israel, the Jews. Now, that should be clear. I pray that is. If not, please comment online.
Yes. I have what you just said. People's red flags should be going off in everybody's mind after hearing that, because what I'm hearing, a lot of questions begin to arise. Because you're saying that, first of all, that when nobody calling themselves no Christian to after Jesus Christ did. Now, that's a big statement there now. Because most folks gonna think Christian being here when time started. You let them tell it, you know. But nevertheless, when I'm looking at the Jews and the Christians, I'm looking at who's raising hell as I speak. Because if you are standing for truth, all this killing and war going on, and it's the Jews and the Christians fighting together, on the Muslims. This is what I'm seeing. I don't know whether people seeing this or not. This it ain't nothing else but that. You know, I'm gonna call a duck, and truck a truck. But you could see the deception going on here now, as what you just said, because you could see a lot of changes. Oh yeah, one more other thing. You mentioned about Elohim in the Old Testament. The Jews believe in the Old Testament, and the Christians believe in the New Testament. And you said that John. So something ain't right here.
Mm-hmm. Remember the word.
You said in the beginning was the word, but you didn't call no name. They said, John said, in the beginning was the word, but if it was a word, and you talking about a creation, can't we have a name? Just beginning was the word, and the word was with God, and the word was God. Can we get a name to go with that? Because see, technology can step in here and slip in here.
Mm-hmm. And that's why we need our careful scholars to discern that and bring the understanding to its clear. So in that case right there, in the beginning was the word was God, and the word was with God. That by John, when the word is made flesh, this is what gives the name of God. And that who made flesh was Jesus Christ. So the Jesus Christ became the word that was God, that became the name that Roman prayed. Then the Old Testament, they pray to Yahweh, which is Elohim, which is not Jesus Christ. See, this is an older science before Christians even came to existence. Jews existed, predated them. Because remember, the Jews are the Persians. And so the Persians go back to Mesopotamia, go back to Babylon. These are the people who created the Sumerian text, the Anunnaki stories. These are your Persian Jews. So they go far back. When we're talking about the 7 tablets of creation from Babylonian text, that's how you get the 7 days of creation in the Genesis text. That comes from the Babylonian period, which no Christian was around in. That's predating them by almost 4 to 2,000 years. Moses come 4,000 BC. So this is taking place in Babylonian around 6,000 BC. So now when we're talking about all this taking place, This is where now the third book comes in, the Quran. This is why the Quran, you have to study it because it's written by people who predate Christians, and it's written from people who corrupted original text from the priests while in Babylon, and the priests of Babel corrupted it into Yahweh. And they've been working on this for over 6,000 years. And it became about perfected with the King James and furthermore in all those lessons. So now the world either worship these two names right here when we're talking about on the soil of America.
That's correct. That's correct.
You either worship God, or you worship Jesus Christ. They have said Yahweh, Elohim, Yahweh, Jehovah. So right. These two, Jehovah, Yahweh, or Jesus the Christ. This is the three names you will hear on the soil.
That's correct.
When you pray in these names, you are praying to family lines that have changed and altered text to include themselves as God to be ruler of your land. So how did they do it? That's what I mean by the Old Testament. So in that form, that's how they did it with the Old Testament. They did it with Jacob and with the angel. So in the New, they did it with John, CDJs. Jacob, Old Testament. That wasn't his real name. He didn't get that. He started with Jacob. Yaqub is his real name. He didn't get the name Israel till he wrestled with the angel. Then his name was changed to Israel. Then Israel had the 12 children. This way you get the 12 tribes of Israel. And all this comes from what they worship. And this is where how they get their name. Then the Romans, how they made theirs was making Jesus Christ the word. So now they got both of that in one book. But now when we go into the Quran,
I want to say something to that right there to them 12 tribes. And now see, if you ain't careful, you will think that everything started from the point of the beginning of the 12 tribes, from Jacob all the way down, when it was true, way before this period. But most all the teaching and what they want us to believe in always started right from that point, from the 12 children of Jacob.
And that's big.
So if you ain't careful, you can deviate if you ain't careful. This is what I'm trying to say.
And Jews deviate. Rome deviate. Anything in that language have deviated from the original. So that's why we tracking back the footprints to the original.
That's correct.
So when we're talking about language, the New Testament ain't literally in English. That's a translation.
That's correct.
It's literally in Greek. So this is where we got the Greek language. Greek represent the Romans. Then we have the Old Testament, that's the Hebrew language. And that language is representing a diluted, a unholy language.
I just want to say something to the translation. Seems like to me, if you're going to be translating from something that is already present or original, at least you can have the audacity to say where it came from. But for some reason, this here, it's not mentioned. It's from their starting point, just like what you just said.
They
said they putting it right, and they said right into history.
And writing their family line.
That's right.
And their forefathers.
That's right.
Making them gods and deities. See, this is what they're doing. They're making them deities.
Yeah.
So we have to understand family lines are ruling everywhere on the land.
That's correct.
And if you pray in their name,
that's correct.
This is saying you in allegiance or you subjected to that family allegiance, authority. So this is why they had to change all this, because the divine creator don't play none of that.
That's right.
So to subjugate the whole world, they needed to manipulate this original text.
Yeah.
They need to first manipulate the name. So now they can create false text and have people worshiping false scriptures, and therefore they think the gods in those books are real gods.
That's correct.
When they only family men, family lines of men from Rome and from Judea. We American. So we don't need foreign names in our mouth.
That's correct. That makes plenty sense.
If we American, we don't need to be praying in a name that came from Greek.
Yeah.
If we American, we don't need to be praying in a name that came from a corrupted form.
That's correct.
Of our original tongue and diluted into Hebrew. And see, those Hebrews are the Hebrews of America. But the story been shifted, and so we have to have these contextual keys. So now we have Yahweh and we have Jesus, the Roman Jesus Christ that they crucified.
Yeah.
This is the God.
Yeah.
So now, moving to the Quran. Now, the Quran, as they say, is younger than the Bible.
That's right. Okay.
But it's also older than the Bible. It's younger as in the sense of the books that's in it. But the message in it predates the Bible. So we have to understand why. Because it comes from a history that predated Christians. In a region that Christians didn't even exist, Rome had to come and invade, just like they in America today as the United States.
Invaders.
This is what we have to understand. This is how they doing it. And with this, where the Quran come in, put that on the screen.
Yeah. It's good to know that. It's good for them to hear that. Going back to the roots.
Going back to the roots. So this is why we have now, when we come to the Quran, we have the revealed name of the Creator. But now, due to its scholars who wrote the Quran, the family line they from is a corrupted family line.
Oh, that's not good. That ain't good at all.
That's why you got people who running that corrupt. See, because this is a big thing.
Wait a minute.
They stealing our stuff, remixing it, and ruling the world like we was in ancient times.
Remix.
So this is what we have to understand. So when the Quran comes, now this is why it's older than the Bible. Because what's in the Quran predates the Bible. But the published part of it comes after Constantine. So it will be newer in the sense of book form. But in the sense of living it, the way is considered not even written in a book until the last prophet comes to give the perfected name. This is what we're working our way up to.
Okay.
This is why we know the Quran, as the title itself, ain't the original text. It's made by a family bloodline that is corrupted and stole this from the Yeshiva Academy. Now, that's just deeper scholarship, but just to put a name on it. And this is where Babylon was created.
My.
So they already knew about the divine creator name. So in order to keep the people glued in, they could not release something fake in the time after the great last prophet came with that message in that time. It was ruling everywhere. So when we talking about how did they come in and stop that from being the purity that it was? By making the Quran. So now when they made the Quran, they put the original name in it, but now the words, when they translated it,
here we go.
They put words in it that actually curses the creator.
Oh my goodness, who would stoop that low?
And it's only one group of people that scoop this low, and this is called the Persians. Modern name is the Jews.
Man.
These people hate you and hate the divine that you come from. And as you see today, wish you poor, dead, and deleted and obsolete.
Can I ask a question? Go ahead. I don't want to mess you up.
And this all across the floor to all families. They want all families under their family. This is what the New World Order is all about. The United States is a united family bloodline. These are not just corporations running things. These are family bloodlines behind these corporations.
Yes.
So back to the Quran, this is where you have the Persians, the Jews. Since the Jews was in the mix with the ancient people, they got to see the ancient people way of life. And these are the people who was given from the ancient people the books of Moses. See, but in ancient tongues, we don't call them Moses. Right?
Yes,
see, that's a modern tongue.
Sure, that's a changed name. That's right.
That's why Jews go by Jews. They say Moses. This is a change of name. Remember, if it's not original,
that's right. It's
changed. And anything changed is no longer the truth. It's diluted. Now it might be truth in it, but it's not purity.
That's right.
It's not pure. So now when we're talking about the Persians, this is what they did. They created a language just like Hebrew. So Hebrew is for the Jews now, but Persians created a Persian form of Arabic that they name Arabic, but it's not really Arabic, it's Persian. Because they changed the name and they changed the flow of everything since they knew how it worked.
Yeah.
Now, they received the books of Moses from the ancient people. And the ancient people was the people of the way. And people of the way was called the people of Abraham. So this is why the Old Testament begins with changing the story of Abraham, creating false children to now create their family line to be in that false set of names. So now they can have rulership through name and power.
Yeah.
This is why the Old Testament and New Testament is here. Before that happened, this is why you have the Quran telling you about Jews, telling you about the Sabians,
That's right.
telling you about the Christians.
Mm.
This is because this existed before we in a landmass that they will be calling in Egypt.
Yeah.
This is where they say writing first began, which is Mesopotamia, but that's still another Persian poison.
Yeah.
So now the Persian decides to write their Quran. This is where the word Quran comes in. They decide to write their Quran, which is a version of Arabic, just like the King James is a version of the language of the Greek and the Hebrew. So they made a Persian version of Arabic. And so this is what has been the holy war. So now all this power that the Jews receive comes from the book of Moses. This is where they get the 5 books called of the Torah. This is where they change Musa, which is our language. Musa, this is why they need to change it, because Musa is the beginning of their leaving out of bondage. So now we have to understand Adam and Eve belong to their story, not ours.
Beautiful.
Now, Musa is the one who was the Pharaoh in Egypt that was the wealthiest, knew all the sciences, knew the mathematics, and knew the wisdom of what to get to with the true word of the divine creator. This was known as Ilah Bokar. This was the knowledge that was in America that got shipped to Egypt and Mesopotamia. And this is where everything became twisted. And this is why America is the place where the truth is going to be raised up. Because this is where the truth was first. This is where Abraham was born. But this is where the lie told that he was born in the Middle East. That's the Persian poison. Anything come from the Middle East come from the Persian. Anything coming from North Africa comes from the Roman. See, this is very key in our history because the books go back to the Middle East. Jerusalem in New Testament, there's the New Jerusalem coming out of heaven and earth. Jerusalem is in the Middle East. Not in North Africa. It's in the Middle East. Middle East, this is where we have to understand where Persian and Romans are building their empire called the New Jerusalem. It has nothing to do with a holy place for all the prophets. This has to do with the corruption of all the prophets in their divine message. And now the worship of a large cast of demon gods. Basically, these family lines that killed the prophets, don't think they killed the prophets. It's these family lines.
Yes, as you were saying that, all I could see just like coming on the news. And as I speak, you can see Jerusalem being established. It's right here. See, like I was saying, you can fool some of the people some of the time, but not all the peoples all the time. And now you see why the people's over here get nothing, but any other country, anywhere USA is at, and companies and in family line, that's where the money flows. Notice that. No problem getting anything, but they put the bill. How about that? I'm gonna give the floor.
And that's a great example to what we're speaking on and the importance of tying together.
Staying all together.
Why everything is focused on the Middle East.
Yeah, right now.
See, because the people in America,
Mm-hmm.
that's why we have to understand the truth and we have to speak the truth. So, but we have to read these lies so we can have an understanding of where these lies came from. Walk in the truth. Because when you speak in it, you got to walk in it.
Oh, yes, indeed.
And so we have to understand we got paradise on our side.
Cheers.
Now, back to the Quran.
Mm-hmm.
So the Quran is a Persian version.
Mm-hmm. That's not good.
And this is where the corruption begins. So now, when it comes to the Quran, it tells you go to places that the creator in the original text tell you not to go to. So the original text, there's no place called Mecca. This is a Persian poison. Anything called Mecca is a Persian poison.
What you say?
And this is what has not been known for the people that's calling themselves and striving to live a great life. They don't tell you where the word Muslim comes from. The word Muslim comes from the word Musa. And this is where you are before, not the people after Musa, that
Right,
Musa came.
right,
you are the people before Musa.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
So Musa, to have this amount of wealth and established in the time period before the fall was fallen, was called in Egypt Akhenaten. So when you hear the word Akhenaten, that is a hidden cover up for all your pre-ancient history that was known as Musa. So when you hear the lean, because it's pronounced Musa Lim, Musa Alim is how it's pronounced in tone. Musa Alim. Alim means the master, the scholar, the teacher. Musa was a master, a scholar, and a teacher, teaching the divine science of the way. This is how he amassed what was considered the wealth in that time. So that's where the word Musalim comes from. It comes from a person, a family line. So that's not a belief when you say Musalim. But today when you say Muslim, it sounds like because of the Persian poison. They took the knowledge of self out of the original way and put another type of way of worship in the Quran. Where instead of self-mastery and learning the sciences and the mathematics, you learn religious exercises. So in the original text, the divine creator don't tell you to pray 5 times a day. This again is Persian poison. This is why Americans don't. We with the creator because they wasn't yet revealed. Become pure to receive. And so K.O.S. is a representation of that purity. And so we will receive the divine instructions from the divine creator. And all the answers are within. And this is what's bringing us forward to the original text. Bringing the 3-headed dog, if you ever heard it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's mine.
These 3 books is what's bringing the 10-headed king.
Yeah.
Yes, Hercules. All this tie in.
Yeah.
That's the Greek tying in to take over the original.
Yeah.
That's what Greek Olympians mean.
Yes, sir.
To take away the deity, the original deity.
Mm-hmm.
So the 10-headed kings, the 7-headed powers, the whore of Babylon, this is all it.
Mm-hmm.
See, it's coming down the pipeline.
Yeah, yeah.
And we need to be very attentive to ourselves, because self has to have a certain eternal truth to pass through death.
Mm-hmm.
The name is very important.
Yes, it is.
That's why it's been changed. Start tonating, and what you say is very important. Again, this is why it was changed. So now they gave you the original name of the creator, a Persian version, Persian poison.
Mm-hmm.
So now in English it's diluted because the translation from is diluted. What we call it, defiling mean, lacking holy breath or Holy Spirit. So these 3 books have wounded our people into believing in something that's not totally 101% true.
Mm-hmm. I just want to that what you just said, because see what you just explained is, and once you see why now that we have all of the deception going on, all of the destruction, and not to mention all the blood and the life being taken, as though they are the givers of life. I just, it just breaks your heart. But those that's guilty of all this, you see, if there were any truth that would stand today, we wouldn't have the mess we have today, and our year to flow.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The mess we have today. And that's why purity, will, and love is needed in these time periods. Now that we're dealing with the poison, so we have the Persian poison, the Old Testament, the Jewish Old Testament, the corrupted Jews, and then we have the synagogues of Satan, Rome, New Testament. So we have the synagogues of Satan, Jews, and you have the false believers worshiping the wrong way. People who are true in faith. About this, people are ruling because the prayer is not in the original text. So the people American, they do this stuff. You won't find Americans doing it because in our DNA is everything I just said. Yeah. I'm just saying it in words. That's right. In our DNA, we have the DNA. DNA stands for deity of the noble Ilallah. They beautiful. This is what DNA means. We have the DNA of Ilallah. Now, this is coming from the original text, and this is from original tonation. We have to understand deep self-mastery. Our family bloodline was into deep self-mastery. So the concepts we have today, consider high-level mastery of heaven and things, these was people of our bloodlines in our time belief. These were people who walked it. We knew in our life this was true and beyond.
That's right. Beautiful.
So now when we talking about that way of life predates these 3 books. And these 3 books have nothing to do with that way of life in its ancient form. So now this is why the original text is on American soil. All the fake texts came here. The Quran came here. The Bible came here. The Septuagint came here. The Tanakh, the Mishnah, they came here. They came here and they made others take on their name. Now into the name. Now this is what we have to understand concerning man and woman as the black man and black woman. You are having from the DNA of Abraham, the original Abraham. And this is why you have a peculiar way about yourself that's so unique to others, because this DNA you have is not like anything else. It's made to be holy and pure. And it's so beautiful.
Beautiful.
The whole objective is to strip our beauty, to corrupt our thoughts, and to plant falsehood in our mind. So now let's get back on the truth. Well covered on the falsehood of the 3. You can always put comments in the comment box or email K.O.S. Kommunity with a K at gmail.com. Because what you need to understand, because I have on the screen, as you see, what we was talking about. The New Testament God right there. The Jewish God right there. And the God of Musa right there. See, we have the story about how Musa changed the name of the Creator. And this is where you get the name. Guess what name you get? Yahweh. This because this was a new people, a new nation that was have their own genetics. And we gave them their genetics. And we gave them the history of 6,000 from Musa. And now this is where you got the whole collaboration from Musa to Moses. These are 2 different people. Remember, when you start talking about a biblical character in a book, you are talking one living like you are, but back in the day, not no character in the book like on TV or Spider-Man or Batman. Musa was a real being like Abraham. Abraham came before Musa, just like Musa came before Isa. See, we all understand it. So this is the story of the true Jesus belongs to us. But we didn't call him by that name. We called him by his holy name that our ancient fathers taught us. And that was Isa. This is where we get the name Absalom from. And the way predated Judaism, predated Christianity. The language of America is older than Hebrew, older than Greek. This is where kapata, kapata. When you start going into the Egypt tones, we gave that to them. We took that from America to Egypt to unify us across everywhere through Asalam. Asalam is the unity of all black man and black woman across the world.
Beautiful.
And they wanted to disrupt our unity. Asalam is how Africans and Americans united. This is how we became one. But since the diaspora and the corruption, this is where the separation came from. So in America, we didn't speak like this in a sense that we speak it now. It had more tones and it had more rhythm and it had rhymes in it. We, the same people who rap today, how our language was in the past. Ancient times, our spoken word was like rhymes. They was like today's raps. We said it was like in the measure of a rhyme. This is where you get the word rhythm. Our rhythm was in the rhyme. And when we rhyme, this is where everything was remembered. This is how we never forget. And we won't forget this time because we finna seal it all in.
Beautiful.
We finna bring the rhyme, the rhythm, and the name all back into the harmony of our tones. So we have those three books are the corrupted version of North Africa. That's your you got that go with three books. I haven't mentioned Europe yet, but Europe is where your original Quran came from. Your original Quran came from Europe. When we left America and took the teachings into Europe, this is what we took. We took something called Quran is not what you know of today. The Quran was us reciting the knowledge of the Sufian. Now that's the original text, original name. So now when you hear about Quran means to recite, it was talking about reciting the Sufian, the Sufas. The text that's the new Quran today. See how with the double perception. They know about brain, that you can use a double perception like a brain teaser method, where you see two in one picture. One picture have like two faces, but it have one solid picture like a vase in front of it. But the shadows make a face where somebody can say they see a face, somebody can say they see a vase. See, this is what they did to our literature, spirit. So now we're talking about the land of America. Now let's get to the land of America, who is bringing the original truth. A is the first letter in every alphabet across the world. Tell me why.
Good question.
Because we set the foundation. And the foundation to everything begins with Illallah. One. One and one. Illallah's wisdom. This was our Sufian science and our Sufian mathematics. Later today, we know them as supreme alphabets, supreme mathematics. But there's an original form of that called the Sufiana. Americana. This was our Sufiana Americana. See how it rhymes? This forgot. So this is why they had to go from just Kunte to Toby. See, it's a tone switch and a non-rhyming, so you can't remember. In a form of or potent logics, or we call sufas. Eyes of Lord and Master, arm, leg, hands. This is how we never forgot who we were. We had it coded in our DNA. Now, the Quran has got us to call the divine creator by the wrong tones. Because the tones is very powerful. Now, what we have to understand from our ancient way of the Sufiana Americana is that how we viewed ourselves is how the world viewed the concept of God. So in America, why you hear the word, it was first NGA. And we used to say this to each other, just like we say it today, and old people overhear us. So when they overheard us saying the word nigga, remember, all things with us have that R in it. Everything with us, it has this R in it. This is very key. So now when we're talking about how did they bring about this switch, because of GA, America source holds the original niggas, Sufiana, Americana. But the word nigger was not the word what they use today. It was nigga. And nigga is the same word as what it stood for in our time. Our times it stood for the nation of God and Allah. Now we have to understand this. Nation, N-G-A, nation, G, God, A, Illallah. Now we have to understand. Our culture was, we seen the woman as God, always. But what we didn't know is that the black woman was God and the black man was Allah. This is what we had coded in the word nigga. We had it coded into our DNA. The nation of God, Allah. Woman, God, man, Allah. The name Allah is the original name of the black man. Same for woman. So us, we always holy being that owns these words. So when they heard us use these words, they knew these words was words of power. So now that's why today's words always associate back to God and associates back to Allah. Now, when you put God and Allah together, you have illallah. This is the divine purity of holy man and holy woman. And when this wisdom and understanding makes a child, knowledge is born. So we have part of our culture as the greatest respect was self-respect. So the way of America was called Illa Sufian. Like the way we say the word honor, if we would say it in the old slang, we would say honor, honor, honor. The tones, they switched it to honor, honor. Tone honor, honor. So we will Sufianas. We honor self by illallah, both man and woman, God and Allah. And this was our triune illallah. So when you hear the Trinity, this was known as the high teachings of the ancient way that Christians later day found out through Rome conquered territories. That the triune or the Trinity concept in one was the most powerful form of matter, form, and being. And being the God of a Trinity, taking of the person as the Father, taking the person of the Son, taking the person of the Holy Spirit. This is an ancient science that of how we view father, mother, and child. This is why when we took it to Hikupta or Kemet or Hakemet, this is where we left the land of wisdom. That's why it's in big geometry, so it could never be denied. So Heru is Haru, Horus, Asa, Aset, or Isis. You see the correlation? Then you have Osiris. So these three was what America took into Kemet for the unity of the world. And this is what we have been deprived of in America. Of the world. So now, with God being the black woman, Allah being the black man, and when they come together, they birth love divine, purity, and will. Allah. Now, this is what we have to understand. Our divine way of saying God and woman not only was the nectar or the news or the nigger rules that comes out of Kemet. Before that, it was called Sufiya. Sufiya. So God was Sufiya. We got this. This is our eternal mother. So as you have a temporary mother and a temporary father, eternal mother and father have a divine name, and their divine name is Sufiya and Illallah, Father or Fatiha Allah, and Sufia is the divine name of our parents, mother, and father, who is one. Illallah is indeed masculine, yet Illallah is feminine. Illallah doesn't have a gender. This is where the understanding. And so in America, our creator have 101 names, personal names. In the Quran of Mecca, the Persian poison, they not only take out names, but they limit the names to 99. Once again, so the Americana, the Sufiana, we always believed in the Father. We didn't call it the Father. We called it the Fatiha. See the tones? Father. We didn't speak like that. We was Fatiha is how we said Father. So when we said, or the prayer, our Father, holy be thy name, was our Fatiha. Fatiha. Sufa illallah. Holy be thy name. See, we have to understand this in order to return to our tree of life. Everything was stolen from us. And as was said by Elijah Muhammad, that the time will come when you would teach the so-called East. And the time will come where the final revelation will be revealed. And that the devil was made just to prove the power of Illallah. For all the devil built, for all the demon built. Because remember, in the Sufian, see in the other three books, the devil exists. In the Sufiana, Americana, no devil exists. No sin exists. No savior exists. Self is all that in a bag of chips. So this is why we must understand what we must do. You want yourself. If you want you yourself to reach the eternal truth by knowing your creator. This will ascend you to new levels of revelation. So Jesus is not a deity. Yahweh is not the true name of the divine deity. Elohim is not the true divine name of the deity. Our ancient fathers and our ancient mothers all said Illallah is the Fatiha, Father. And this is how America was the old world, and the old world become the new world, bringing the new heaven and the new earth. And we covered a major couple bases.
Let me say one thing. On to that even we heard our leaders proclaim that what you just said, that they've been proclaiming this new world. So I guess that's what they're talking about. What they now set up shop for all our people to come under. Well, we don't supposed to be none of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hope that's awesome. See, we didn't know that. Now, just really think about
know. I'm glad you let them know.
now that we have on
Yeah.
just that would have been better.
Yeah.
No,
This from the
we've been displaced into materialism now,
yes.
and now this has substituted the higher self teachings and the will of the higher self. There's no devil in the Sufian. In the original text, there is no devil at all. These are from corrupted texts, plagiarized scriptures to lure all of us in to lose our purity. This is why every child is known as innocent. It's because every child is born pure. And that's a fact. Uncontaminated. So we have to understand we have broken some violations by following people who are violators. These people, the Sufian call them clear in plain sight. Demons. Anyone who have told you a lie, and especially a lie about your creator, you have the right to call them a demon, because your creator calls them that. So when we talking about from what Noble Drew Ali brought, the divine teachings back of the two selves, and that if you wanted to redeem yourself, that man must look within. The only devil from which man must be redeemed is in your hands. It's in self hands. There's no demon, there's no devil outside. This is the great mystery, and this is the highest truth, that the evil is not, that the evil is inside. It's within, and his name is self. This self is the demon. See, the demons have no power down. The only power they have for demon self. If you have the demon self, this is the only power they can drain, take to another form for their own benefit. Remember, how did they become demons? Through themselves. So when we talk about the demon self is the unredeemed self still lurking within the flesh of your own being. In your being, we have to understand about the within. There's an inner self and there's an outer self. And both of these make up the lower self. This lower self called the demon self is located in the inner self. And so when you do devilish acts, wrongdoing, or evil upon other human beings, that is the inner self demon gone to the outer self. And that's where it becomes flesh. And now that's called demonic. You use the flesh to do an evil that you committed from within. Your demon self has to think too. That's right. Your demon self is a thinker too. Thinking of evil, thinking of ways to disturb your higher self peace. It's all into the and this is what the word illallah means. It means purity. And when you have purity, there's only one. Two don't come to purity. Two called a mix, or you call it sex. One is called purity. Ain't no mixing. Ain't no seconds in purity. This is what the divine creator, the purity in self. And that's purity in self is the self in man. So this is what we have to get down to. Thrice blessed is the man. This is talking about carry on. It's how powerful purity and love is. That it'll rescue you from yourself. If you didn't understand anything I said, or it was too complicated, or you felt like you wasn't a scholar to even understand, remember this. Return to purity. This is the divine intention on the American soil. Why you think we the people let people in? We let all types of nations come over here. You think only people can do that who filled with hate, filled with harm? We sit back, let others rule the land. We so filled with purity and love. But we seeing they can't even run the land. So we got to wake up. But there won't be grass on the earth if we don't.
About gone now. Everything about gone. The water being poisoned, the fresh water being poisoned, the fresh air being poisoned, the ocean, the sea.
Anybody else want to say anything?
Go ahead, say.
Finish this off. And then we can get ready to close. We need to understand what's the biggest thing we know today. What's the biggest thing in our minds today?
Mm-hmm. Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Because he has poisoned pretty much all. And even when you look at the nation, Islam, they doing the same thing that Persia doing, that 5 times a day praying stuff and making the Hajj to Mecca. And that's all of them today think, breathe, teach at the mosque right now. Everything that you have covered today should explain why. Everything that everybody doing today is at hand. So everything should be crystal clear now. All they over their head, all they got to go back and revisit the website. And go back over it again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, replay, listen.
Yeah.
Replay. You need to hear it more than once.
That's right.
And that's why it's recorded. So you can ingrain
Go back.
the truth into your own brain.
And it should be run every day till we come back again, till you come back round again to teach them again. They should not let a day go by without running that through each and every day. That's how you get it.
Mm-hmm. So, last but not least, the most important thing that I want to bring into the awareness that now we have covered the Old Testament, the New Testament, and the Quran. So now we need to know what is the perfected name of Salam. Never be tricked again. The perfected name of Salam is Sufian. Sufian. This was a gift given to us, a revelation to set your house in order, to reach eternity, to leave your children back the gifts to attain the same high exalted heavens. So this is a footprint back to the Creator. It don't get no sweeter. This is what we was never told by the Nation of Islam. This is what we was never told by in Islamism. This is what we Quran, Old Testament, or New Testament. And when we say perfected, that means perfect, not nothing wrong. Pure, pure. It's made perfectly to protect you, to secure you. This is our divine constitution of man and woman.
There you go.
to live upon the earth land and have longer days that our Lord, our God, Illallah, have given us. To accept that gift from the divine God is to call yourself a Sufi. And that's his message to you. If no one else got anything to say,
We can't say that. That's sweeter than that.
shut it down. That the divine light is purity. Return to purity as we hold hands together through the journey of self. Purity and love. As-salam, salam, Sufiana.